Amen. Please be seated. Someone coming in late. Let's not all look at them at the same time. No. My dad is no longer with me, and I regret that because the story I'm about to tell you, I didn't hear from him. I had to do my research. My dad got into some trouble, some fairly serious trouble, made national news back in April of 1964. He and four others left from the north and headed south in response to Martin Luther King Jr.'s invitation for people from the north to come down and participate in whatever form that might have taken in standing opposed to the law of the land in the South segregation. So my dad was 32, he was ordained, and he went to Williams College. And again, I'm trying to piece this together, and I think it might have been while he was there that he met William Sloane Coffin, who was the chaplain at the time. My dad went on to New York City to Union Theological Seminary, and William Sloane Coffin was left chaplaincy at Williams College and became, I think, the pastor of Riverside Church, which is just, in the same neighborhood. So somehow, I don't know, that they knew each other, and together with Mrs. Burgess and Mrs. Peabody and Dr. Robert Haling. So Mrs. Burgess, African-American, married to the first African-American diocesan bishop of the Episcopal Church, Bishop of Massachusetts at the time, 1964. Mrs. Peabody, mother to Endicott Peabody, who was the governor at the time, and also married to Malcolm Peabody, who was the retired then, she was 72 at this time, but she was married still to Malcolm Peabody, Bishop of Central New York. So a pretty august group heading to St. Augustine, Florida. And they called ahead. There is Trinity Episcopal Church is there in St. Augustine. And they said they would be coming down and they'd be there on that Sunday, and then they were going to stay the week and be involved in some form of protest for overturning segregation. They got to the church on Sunday, and the rector had locked the doors on them. Several days later, April 3rd, they had been denied, again, they're traveling with two African Americans. They were denied entry to two restaurants, but they found a hotel in the old slave market district of St. Augustine, Florida. And there was a hotel there with a lounge. So they went in there. And as it happens, there were a number of reporters who were staying there, reporting on the civil rights movement in that area at that time. And so they refused to leave. They ordered, and the police were called. And, Mrs. Peabody with her, there's a picture of this, and she's just, this proper woman with her pearls. And they took her off to jail. And they took Mrs. Burgess off to jail, and my dad and William Sloane Coffin, and they all headed off. 2 nights they spent in jail. They got into trouble, and it was John Lewis, who some years later, but very much involved in all of that, who at some point said, we all need not just to get into trouble, but to get into good trouble, because it's necessary trouble to make this world a better place for any and all. Jesus was in the habit of stirring up good trouble. And I dare say in his time, not altogether different from this present time, family was everything. Family first. And, there were no social, support systems. Your family was everything. It was your identity. It was the roof over your head. It was your support. It was everything. So to leave the farm, leave your family behind for any reason was a big deal. And here's Jesus calling forth anyone and everyone to follow in his footsteps to a higher calling, namely, how can each and every one of us make this world, a better place? So I've been asking myself, I thought I could share a little of the ways in which I've gotten into trouble, not good trouble, but trouble. I thought, no, I won't go there. But I was thinking about, as a priest, have I gotten into good trouble? And I qualify, I think, because as I was reading, what it means to be in good trouble, most of it, as you might expect, it has to do with protest and sit-ins and boycotts and doing things that, speak truth to power, by your physical presence, but also building bridges between different types of people with different perspectives on life. That in itself is a form of, believe it or not, of making good trouble. And that's where I think I fall into my little category. And just as a kind of a side note, and I've known this for a long time, I always like to, especially for funerals, check out someone's name and see by chance if their name and the origins of their name have anything to do with how they've lived their life. And my name is Bradford Duff Clark, and Bradford means wide bridge. And I've always thought that part of what I'm supposed to be doing is bridging. Clark is cleric, so as a cleric, I'm trying to create building bridges. And the Duff part, I don't know, that's kind of funny. That's like substance, peat moss or something. I don't know how that fits in. But so here's what I feel I've been doing all this time, and I want you guys to, I'm going out on a limb here, right? So we have a lot of doctrines in our church, and they're there for a reason. And some of them are quite bold. Bold, especially to the people, now I'm going to bridge us to anyone outside these doors. And if you were to share with them, some of the doctrines that Episcopalians may say, well, I'm going to give you guys all a break. They're important, and we have a reverence for them, but we're a little more accommodating and questioning, and I wouldn't be here unless that were part of it. But nevertheless, from the other side of the bridge, people looking this way think, why do you guys believe what you do? These doctrines that have been, pillars of the church for so long, many of them don't make sense. I don't know if you've noticed, that they don't quite. So I've always been tempted to take issue, with some of these doctrines. Why? Not for my own sake, but for the sake of the people who, when they come down the street looking at, these doors are locked because of those doctrines. They can't get in. They don't want to get in because it just, to them, it's like, wouldn't even think of it. There's a movie, one of my favorites, The Horse Whisperer, and someone wiser than me, as part of a homily, once said that the takeaway from that movie is this, that you take a horse or who's been badly traumatized and has become something other, wild and crazy and distrustful and wounded deeply. And a horse whisperer's job is to work lovingly, patiently with that horse in order, here's the kicker, pun intended, to teach that horse a truer story about itself than the one it's come to believe. Okay? To teach the horse, this is the healing process, to bring that horse back to a truer story about itself than the one it's come to believe. I think that's true for any kind of trauma. But I now want to apply it to the church, right? And I never thought of myself as a church whisperer, but think of this, that maybe my and your, we're in this together, you're stirring up good trouble goes like this, that Marcus Borg, all right, wait. I think that my job here, I'll get to Marcus Borg in a second, is to try and teach the people of this church a truer story about Jesus than the one we've come to believe. The one we've come to believe is captured beautifully in doctrine. And that's about often as far as we take it. That's what we accept. And that's what we, take into the world. That's what people understand. So that's not doing us any good. It's pretty bold stuff, right? It's not doing us very good. It's locking that door. So why not make an effort to understand a truer story? Because this is where I feel I'm orthodox, that there's a truer story about Jesus than what we've come to believe. And that story, thank you, Marcus Borg, comes around like this, that he believed that looking at Jesus, that you didn't see a divine being, that you had nothing yet else to do but to kind of, okay, I'm going to do this for a while and then I'm going to go home. No, the collect says follow Jesus in his steps. So how do you do that? Why would you even do that if he's a God? He's not different from us in kind. He's not different from us in kind. He's not a different being of some, he's different from us by degree. And that what we see in him, we could see in ourselves. So here comes Marcus Borg, who says, in Jesus, we see not only what God is like, so we have this window to the core of who this person is, and it's love, and it's grace and courage, and we see the heart of the best that this universe has to offer, and the best that filled this man. So in Jesus, we see not only what God is like, we see what a life full of God is like. And that's the kicker. That's the follow in the steps. And by degree, slowly but surely, if you commit to this, you too can begin to aspire to be filled with that kind of love and courage. So, it takes a lot of audacity to leave the farm and to feel disloyal to your people. And it takes courage. But there is a blessing upon all who find the courage within them to stir up, good trouble.